You're listening to Helping of Happiness, episode number 126. Today we are talking about how you can influence the world with your hobbies and gifts with guest Becky Squire. Hi, you're listening to Helping of Happiness. I'm your host, Hillary Hess, a crazy mom of 7 kids who loves to eat and loves to travel. Mom life can be exhausting, hectic, and scary at times. So let's take this journey together. We can love, we can learn, we can laugh, we can cry, and we can become better friends while we're at it. I am so happy to be back with you with a fresh episode this week. Thank you so much for bearing with me last week when I was re-releasing another episode. Things were just a little crazy. We sent off my daughter Cassidy on her mission. She was on our podcast a couple weeks ago talking about her missionary experience in her training, and I was such a mess. She left last Tuesday, and she's gone for 18 months. It really hit me hard. So literally all Tuesday morning, I did come home and go for a walk, and then I just got back in my bed put my covers over my head, cried, and just slept for hours and hours and hours until it was time for me to get moving like mid-afternoon and, be a real mom again. Enough of the sad moments. Maybe I should share a really funny experience that happened to me just a couple weeks ago. So out of nowhere, maybe we should call this segment the mom fail segment or something. I don't know. This is a little insight into the Hess house anyway, but maybe it will make you laugh. So this is why I'm sharing this. So out of nowhere, my 3-year-old, who we've been trying so hard to potty train. So this is a potty training story. It may be getting a little bit yucky. So if you hate this, then just skip up ahead so that you can hear our episode with Becky. But this kid has been the hardest, child number 7, the hardest to potty train. He's the most stubborn, strong-willed little thing. The cutest thing. It's so good he's so cute because he is such a handful in so many ways. So we finally just kind of threw our hands in the air and just said, he has to do it on his own. We cannot force him to do this. He won't even wear underpants. He's got no interest. Well, of course, the other day I'm off for a walk and I think my husband is at the gym or something. He decides out of nowhere that he's going to be potty trained. So he goes to the bathroom, pee and poop, and starts shouting for his brother, his 12-year-old brother. Come help me, I went poop, so the 12-year-old brother is trying to, luckily he did the number 2 and not so much with the number 1. It was kind of a mess, and so we got that all cleaned up. So this has been kind of our life, right? The potty training, he's actually done pretty good, but we've had some pretty crazy misses. So there is this day, Cass was still here for home MPC, and so I'm just kind of scrambling around, trying to help her, trying to help the kids at the homeschool, and I'm cutting it super close to when I need to be teaching piano lessons. So I had literally like 15 to 20 minutes to get fully ready. I basically just wanted to shower and throw in a little mascara, so at least I didn't have to be just smelly and gross, right? My husband's, of course, on a work phone call, and I just tell the kids, okay, I'm going to hurry up and I'm going to get in the shower. I literally have no time. I'm just going to be really fast. The second that I get in the shower, of course, someone comes in the bathroom and they're like, Mom, it's such a mess. He pooped in his pants and it's all over the place and blah, blah, blah. So I am trying to shower as fast as I can. I'm hurrying out of the shower. I'm throwing on the shirt that I thought I was going to wear, which I'm all of a sudden take a whiff of, and it smells like BO. One of my teenage boys had put it on and gone and worked out in it or something. So I'm like scrambling, and when you're wet and it's like sticking to you, and so you're trying to rip the thing off, and then I'm trying to find something else to throw on, and I'm going up the stairs, and sure enough, luckily they were in the bathroom upstairs. And I'm trying to give instructions, when they come running in and out, telling me how awful this is while I'm in the shower. I get up there and my 12-year-old son and my 9-year-old daughter and my 6-year-old daughter are all wearing their masks, the fabric masks that we have to wear everywhere because it stinks so bad. This was not a solid poop in these underpants. It was messy and sticky, and I look over, and not only are they wearing their masks, but they are wearing plastic grocery garbage sacks on their hands because they couldn't find any rubber gloves. So they're trying to, because there's a shortage. We can't find rubber gloves anywhere in a grocery store, right? So they're trying to figure out how to get the poop out of this underwear. They're trying to figure out how to clean up the kid. And of course, in the meantime, they're having the best intentions, but it's like everywhere, all over the bathroom. So I'm trying to hurry and wash out the underpants because they're super gross. I'm trying to wash up the baby, well, the 3-year-old, right? Because he's also covered. So I turn on the bathtub and I'm going to have him just kind of be hosed off in there. And when I actually think I'm turning on just the tub, I actually didn't realize that the shower was on. And of course I'm leaning in there. And so my hair that was at least dry from the shower I had just taken because I was wearing a shower cap to be super quick is now soaking wet because the shower is just beating on me. So I'm leaning over this bathtub trying to get the soap and everything is just such a mess and I'm soaking wet and it's just so crazy. So I'm trying to clean this up. I'm running down to the laundry. I'm running back up. And meanwhile, my piano student has arrived and she's doing those finger exercises, and it's like, I feel like I'm at home alone and I'm running through the airport because it's like as fast as we can. And I'm trying to clean all this up and I'm trying to go down to teach. And of course, it was my daughter's birthday on top of that, right? That's another reason why we're going crazy and trying to get all the, because I was trying to be such a fun mom that morning. And anyway, this little anecdote helps you know that if you feel like you are in the trenches and you are up to your eyeballs in poop and pee and kids and craziness, I am right there with you, suffering through the sludge, but it's worth it because we love all of our kids so much. So let's learn from our friend Becky today on how we are going to influence the world through our hobbies and spiritual gifts. I'm super excited to introduce our guest today. We have Becky Squire. Becky is a blogger and a writer at beckysquire.com. Hey, Becky.
Hi, how are you?
I'm so good. I'm super happy that you took a few minutes to be on here to talk about some of my favorite things to talk about is spiritual gifts and hobbies because I love pretty much every hobby and I wish I could do everything right now. But before we get started, will you tell us just a little bit about you and your family and what you do?
Okay, so I have been married for 17 and a half years, and my husband and I have 4 kids, ages 15 down to 9. And we live in northern Utah. Like you said, I love to write. I've got my blog that I write, and I also love to run, and run in the mountains is my favorite, and I love to bake. I love music. So those are just a few things about me. We might talk a little bit about them later since we're going to be talking about hobbies.
Yes.
But and then I also run Latter-day Women magazine. I'm the founding editor, and it is a free online lifestyle magazine with a faithful focus. And you can find that at latterdaywomanmagazine.com.
Super great. Okay, I'm going to look into that one. I'm super excited about that one. So, how did you first get into writing on your blog and doing all that? Was the magazine that came first or was your blog that came first? How did all that?
No, so I have been writing on my blog for about 4 years now. I just have always loved to write. And years ago, I had a miscarriage, and I never really was into professional writing, but I just kind of in my journal and things like that. But when I had my miscarriage, I just wrote like an article about it, just kind of as my therapy. And I don't know why I did this, but I submitted it to the Ensign, and they published it, and it kind of gave me like an idea, like, oh, maybe people want to hear what I have to write and what I have to say. So I created my own website, my blog, and for 4 years, I published an article every single week. So there's a lot of content on there if you go in the archives.
That is
I
a lot of
mostly,
content. That is a lot of
yeah,
dedication right there, especially when you're mama. That's a lot of work.
yeah. But like I said, it's just kind of my outlet, and it just really helps me figure things out and things like that. So I started writing about motherhood and marriage and just kind of that was basically my life. And I enjoyed it, but what I really enjoyed the most was writing about gospel topics. And I didn't do that a ton because they really didn't get very many views, at least from my audience. So I mostly stuck with marriage and motherhood and for years. But just this past summer, springtime, I can't remember exactly, sometime when we were in quarantine, I decided
During the
to
COVID.
yeah, somewhere in there. I decided to totally revamp my blog. And so you can still find all of my old content there. But now I focus on helping women figure out their unique voice and their spiritual gifts so that they can influence the world. Because I have found, by the more women that I talk to, I have found that they, like me, we all feel this call to do something. And I mean, President Nelson and apostles and different leaders in talks, they, for years, they have been asking women specifically, not just women, but they have been specifically talking to women and asking us to share light and truth and broaden our circle of influence so that we can gather Israel and just be a light in the world.
I love it. So, and that's kind of how I found you. I was researching, I found you through hashtag, actually. That kind of funny.
Really?
The power
Okay,
of
hashtags work.
hashtags, right? It's working. So,
Yay.
but I've been wanting to talk about hobbies and gifts, and because that is something that I'm super passionate about, but I love to hear how everybody else is going about it. And you had some really great blog articles about that, like a few different ones.
Mm-hmm.
So that I right there at the top. What made you so passionate about this? What was it that kind of spurred? Why is it so important to have a hobby to you?
So there's a difference between hobbies and spiritual gifts, and I have one blog article that talks about the difference between those, but how we can use both of those to share goodness. And I think that people often think about hobbies as just something kind of random, something to when we get off of work, just kind of pass the time, something that we enjoy. And it's definitely those things, but it can also be used for good. And so, for instance, my writing, like I mentioned before, I've always enjoyed writing, but it wasn't until someone actually published that I was like, oh, maybe I can actually use one of my hobbies to help the world. And I think every single hobby can do that in some way or another.
Well, and don't you think sometimes when we think of hobby, we think of like woodworking or photography, and sometimes as
Mm-hmm.
moms or women, we're like, we don't have time for any of this. We're just stuck
Yeah,
in the
and there's
trenches with the kids, and we kind of forget that maybe we could find a little bit of time and it's important. Or maybe
mm-hmm.
that's not the hobby, but something else is.
Right. And I think that we can always find a little bit of time, but there are seasons of life where you're not going to have time to explore your hobby for, even an hour a day, and that's okay. There will be time for that. But in that meantime, there are other hobbies that you can find and use to share goodness, whether it's in your own family unit or in your community or in the world.
So let's get back to how do we figure out what hobbies we could or we should have? Do you have any personal experiences with that or?
Yeah, so I think that it's really something that you can choose to do. So, for instance, I talked about feeling called to do something and how we all kind of have that calling. A lot of women that I've talked to, they kind of just wait, thinking that they're going to get this revelation about what they're called to do. And it might be like that for some women at some points in their life. But I think we have to get to work. We have to just do it. And so I think whatever you enjoy doing, everybody is different. Um, for instance, gardening is a great hobby. I do not enjoy it at all. And I'm really bad at it. My husband says that I have a black thumb because I kill everything. And so So that's not one of mine, but everybody, is so different. So you just have to figure out, what do you enjoy doing, and how can you use that to share goodness. Um, I'm going to go back to writing because you asked me about a personal experience. Um, but like I said, it was just kind of something I enjoyed doing on the side. But when I started my blog, I did tell myself, okay, I want to publish something every week. And it was really hard. Um, but like I said, you have to work hard at your hobbies, especially if you want to get better at them, and especially if you want to really influence the world with them. I don't think it matters what hobby it is, because there's so many different ways to influence the world. Um, but the truth is, you have to just work hard and, get up and do it.
So I love this idea of sharing hobbies, and even in a unique way. My daughter just left for a mission for our church, the Church of Jesus Christ of
Mm-hmm.
Latter-day Saints. And because they've been in COVID quarantine, a lot of the missionary work that they can do is online. So which is very different from meeting people in public places, or knocking on the
Mm-hmm.
door, or meeting at a park, or wherever that they usually used to meet people, or even doing service. Sometimes they would meet people during service, and they are doing that a little bit more now. But in her area, they're doing so much on social media. And so all the different missionaries are focusing on different talents and gifts. So, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
a couple of elder missionaries, the boys, have done funny little raps or something that have come up with different gospel messages. She just told me today that she's going to do a series of watercolor, where she does watercolor paintings, and that tells a story. And that's something she just started doing
Oh,
during
that's
COVID.
awesome.
So before COVID happened, she didn't even know she liked watercoloring. So I think it's so interesting how we're having to be super creative with how our hobbies can influence the world. But you would never think that something like a series of watercolor paintings could be something that would help teach people something. But it really does. Once you think, you're like, oh, that's a great idea. Oh, that was amazing.
Yeah. And I think you kind of think outside the box in a lot of different ways. So I kind of put 3 different categories in how we can use our hobbies to influence the world. And the 3 are teaching, serving, and giving. For example, watercolors. If you are good at watercolors, you can teach others. That's a way to influence the
Mhm.
world. I mean, it really is, because you never know what, maybe someone that you're teaching, what they're going to do with it.
We learned from somebody else. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's how we learn anything. And then serving, I like to think of this as more of maybe spiritual gifts or qualities that we have that we can serve others. I mean, really, if you cook a meal, if you enjoy cooking, um, you can serve someone in need. We do that a lot in our church. When there's a need, we bring meals. But there's so many other ways to serve. You could take a group of kids on a hike, um, give them a spiritual experience. There's just so many ways. And then the last one, giving, I like to think of that more as like an actual physical thing. Maybe you enjoy baking. That's something that I really enjoy doing. And so that I don't eat all of my baked goods, I will go give it to neighbors. And that's a way to influence the world as well. So I think any hobby can be put into one of those 3 categories.
I love that. So, do you mind just telling us kind of what is the difference between the hobby and the gift?
So hobbies, I like to think of more like that you enjoy doing. It could even be something that you wish you could do, and then you learn how to do it. Spiritual gifts are more qualities that we have
On your website, and I found this too, where you can just sign up and it gets emailed to 72 spiritual gifts. And I loved this list because it's things that I don't even really think about or could be a gift. And, I had a lot more of these than
Yeah.
I thought. So, will you just kind of rattle some of those off for our friends listening?
Bet that you have many of them. So faith, respect, conviction, optimism, enthusiasm, loyalty, gentleness, testimony, knowledge, humility, truth, music, discipline, listening, hearing, obedience, sincerity, perseverance, interpreting tongues, speaking tongues. These are ones that are mentioned in the scriptures, but there's so many that aren't mentioned in the scriptures. Wisdom, love, becoming childlike, having a broken heart, So that was 24.
Which are so many good ones. And as I go through this, I'm like, oh, yeah, I think I have a lot of enthusiasm. I think I have a lot of optimism. Interpreting tongues, maybe that's not one of my gifts, but it
It's
could
not one of
be if I
mine
prayed
either,
for it
but
and worked for it. That could be something.
that's the
Humility,
other
I
thing is
probably need more work on that one and some of the others, but it makes me feel like, oh yeah, about half of those I have those, or maybe I could, make them a little bit better. But it just, I don't know. It's kind of
yeah,
cool to read. I mean,
we can
especially
always
72.
improve.
Yeah.
We can always improve, and we can always ask for ones that we desire to have. I've done that myself, and I don't think that God wants us to lack, but again, we have to work for it,
Mhm.
right? We're not just given anything that we want. So, but yeah, I think that we all have more than we probably think we have.
So, are there any of these that you feel like have really influenced your life, or even just the life of someone close to you that you can think of?
Yeah, as you were asking that, I was actually just looking through and I came across number 66, which is confidence. And well, I can't give too many details, but I contributed to a book that is coming out this fall. And in the book, I talk about confidence, all about true confidence. And this is definitely something that I think most women want. When I was young, I was very, very shy. And I remember my dad was the bishop when I was like 6 years old. And people, would say hi to me as I was walking through the neighborhood or even at church. They would, hi, Becky. And I would just like look down and look away because I was so shy. And I remember my dad, if you know my dad, like you would laugh at him saying this because he's just got a crazy sense of humor. But he said, Becky, your dad is the bishop. People are watching you.
And that's like the
And
worst thing for someone that's shy and
I know,
nervous, right?
but it really stuck with me. But what he said, you should smile, or he said, I challenge you to smile at everybody that says hi to you or everybody that you pass. Smile at them. And I noticed that he did this. And I feel like that as members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, more and more every year, people are watching us, right? And so we do need to have some kind of level of confidence. And so that's something since I was a little girl that I've prayed for. And it's not the type of confidence that that you think of the most popular girl in school having or the most talkative mom in the neighborhood. That's not, I mean, they can have true confidence, but those don't define true confidence, right? And so that's something that I've thought a lot about lately and throughout my life, is something that I had a desire to do. And it's still something that I'm working on, but I feel like I become better at it more and more. And I think that we all need that, especially if we feel that call to share goodness and to influence the world. We need to have that level of confidence.
I love that. And I really think there is power in a quiet confidence that is real confidence
Yes.
and not inflated, pretend, I have all the wonderful outward things, but really inside I'm a mess. I think that
Yeah.
really is so much, because it is easy to throw on a show and not have any real self-confidence inside there. So I really
Yeah,
love that you
exactly.
brought that up, because I don't think you need to be, I mean, surely being an outgoing person, you could be very confident.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just
You
saying
could
that
be
those,
just as confident as a quiet person as you could be
yeah,
as a noisy
yeah.
person. Yeah, I love that, which I'm sometimes both categories depending on the mood
Hmm.
that I'm in. But
Yeah.
I love that so much. Do you have any ideas of how, because this is something I struggle with, how do I help my kids recognize their spiritual gifts, or help making
Hmm.
sure that I'm introducing them to the right hobbies? Because I don't want, what if they were supposed to be the best painter in the world and then they never pick up a paintbrush or something? I mean, it's not like
Hmm.
it has to be destiny or anything, but how do you help them find those hobbies and gifts? And this could go to any family members, not necessarily kids,
Uh-huh.
but
I believe that if you just let your kids try things, they're going to find what they enjoy. They're going to find their favorite hobbies and they're going to find their spiritual gifts. I always dreamt of having boys who loved sports and who were good at sports and things like that. And I have 3 boys, and all 3 of them could care less. And maybe that's because I personally could care less about sports. I don't know. I don't even know why I wanted a son who was good at sports, because I don't like sports.
Because I don't want to go watch him. So no,
I don't.
just
But I guess it's just something that I envisioned. I don't know. But as they grew, my oldest was really into dinosaurs, and my other son is just a people person. He's so social and so funny. And then my youngest is more quiet and reserved, but he is so sweet and polite. Anyway, they've all got their gifts and their talents. Sports isn't one of them. And so, I knew friends of mine who really pushed certain things on their kids. And there's just a fine line, right, between pushing things on them and also making them stick with things and not quitting. There is a fine line there for sure. And I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I've tried to let my kids just try things. And if they really didn't like it, fine, let's quit and let's try something else. And, now as they are growing, they're kind of discovering really what they do enjoy. And I think that's the foundation, is helping them figure it out. As for spiritual gifts, I think printing out this list would be a great way in showing your kids, and even circling ones that you as a parent think that your kids have, because that would be a great boost of confidence, right? They might look at the list and say, I don't have any of this, but really, if you go through it with them, I see this in you. I see this in you. Encourage them to find their own spiritual gifts, and even to pray for ones that they have a desire to have, just like us.
I love that. That would be such a powerful activity, I think, for you and for them. It would be interesting to see which ones they felt like they had too. So that would be interesting to go through and see with them. But what a great idea. I love that. And I think maybe I need to do that one-on-one and not stand at the family and say, you have this, you have that. I mean,
I think it would be a great idea to do it one-on-one.
That's a great idea.
And any age, I think teenagers down to, once they can understand what you're saying, go through that with them.
I think that would be so building. And I think that's a great idea. I mean, because there's so many other good ones: cheerfulness and gratitude and creativity and joy. I mean, people of any age can be exhibiting those gifts. So I love that so much. So here's the other question: how do we find time to do all of these hobbies, I guess?
Well, it's all about priorities. And I actually just published an article yesterday about finding and sticking with your priorities. Like I said, we're all in different seasons of life. If you can only give a certain amount of time a day to influencing the world, I say that's kind of my phrase, and it sounds really big, but it doesn't have to be. Because sometimes the world, in your case, might be your immediate family.
Yeah.
In other times of your life, it might be just your community. And in other times in your life, it might be more broad. But your circle of influence is different. And so when I say influence the world, that's just kind of what I mean. But we should, we should all be putting in the effort, some effort at least, to influencing the world every day, because that's what we've been asked to do. That's really the whole point of why we are all here right now.
I love that. And I feel like you've done such a good job influencing me already, and I'm just starting to get to know you. I just appreciate that you're trying so hard to share your light and teach others how to do so, because sometimes you just do feel stuck. I don't know if I'm influencing anybody. I don't know where to even start. So
yeah, and it feels like that, and that's so normal, but I hope that we can all remember that we're all influencing more people than we think.
And this gives you power when you have a place to start. And I love, I also want to do a shout out for when I signed up for the printable for the spiritual gifts, you have this great email series that takes you step by step through on how to figure out your hobbies and your gifts. And then will you tell us a little bit about how you pair those together to further influence? Because I thought that was really cool too.
Yeah, I like how you said that each day is really simple and it's meant to be just step by step, line upon line, because we don't need to overcomplicate things, right?
Well, and
So,
that's the thing I always pray for. I'm like, please,
yeah,
I know I don't need the whole picture, but just give me one little step because I know I can't handle understanding everything I need
yeah,
to do in the future anyway. But
exactly.
that is something that really helps me is to have little steps.
Yeah, exactly. So in my email series, I start out helping you discover what your interests and your hobbies are. And then the next step is to discover what your spiritual gifts are. And that little printable goes along with that. And then what I like to do is to take your interests and hobbies, and we'll actually divide them into three. So if you go on my Instagram account, I actually have a little chart
Yeah.
and it's really cool. But so pretend there's a circle of your interests,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's a circle of your hobbies. And in my email series and on my blog, I do explain the difference between hobbies and interests.
Yeah.
And then the third circle is your spiritual gifts. And so is it a Venn diagram? I don't know what type of diagram. I'm
Whatever.
not a
It's a
I'm
diagram.
not, it's a diagram of some
It
kind.
might be a Venn diagram. I don't remember what those are, but
I
I
don't
know I
either.
learned about it like 20 years ago. So
Exactly. But where those three circles meet,
yeah,
right in the
yeah.
middle, there's that little section, and that is your purpose. And that's what makes you stand out in a world saturated with people, because there's 100 people, right, who have your same hobby, and there's 100 people who have your same interests, and there's 100 people who have your same spiritual gifts. But there's only one you, and so that's where those meet. That's your purpose, and that's how you figure out what you are meant to do.
I love that. I love that. I love that simple explanation. That's awesome. I
Thank
am
you.
really excited because I'm partway through this email series. So I'm like going to be feeling so purposeful when I'm finished with this. It's
Yay.
going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. Tell everybody where they can find you so they know where to find all this great stuff.
Okay. So my website is beckysquire.com, and I am mostly active on Instagram. So I post there a lot and hang out on stories and stuff. And you can find me there at Becky Squire. And then if you wanted to take a look at the magazine, it's latterdaywomanmagazine.com, and on Instagram, Latter Day Woman.
Awesome. And we will throw links in the show notes to all these different things that we've been talking about, the 72 spiritual gifts and the articles about all the articles, all the things
Yeah.
that
And
we've
if
been
you just
talking
go to
about.
beckysquire.com, all of that, you can
It's just
find
right
it really
there.
easily.
So awesome. So great. Okay. Was there anything that I missed or anything else that you wanted to share to kind of finish this off?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, so I did start a few months ago with this new direction of my blog, and I am really starting from the very beginning. So if you are somebody who feels that call, but you have no idea what to do or how to do it, I would suggest following my blog series. And really, we just start, like I said, at the very basics. And I have a free course called Discovering Your Spiritual Gift. You can sign up for that. It's free. And once you kind of do that, it will also help you kind of build a foundation and figure out how you specifically can influence the world.
Love that. Well, if you don't mind, if we can move on to the 3 helpful and happy questions. Are you ready for those?
Yes.
Okay, so I always try to add this into my podcast because this kind of ties in our podcast with our Helping of Happiness blog. So on Helping of Happiness, I blog about things that make me super happy in family life. And for me, that is food and cooking together, and it is traveling or doing fun things. And it's also learning tips and tricks on how to be a better mom because we all just need better homes and families, right? So I'm learning from you on this. So I'd love to know, what is your favorite food or meal?
My favorite food, I don't know if I have a favorite meal. I like a lot of meals, but my favorite food is cheese.
Ooh.
I'm a cheese snob, and I like even have a book about cheese. So,
What's your best cheese?
well, I mean, I don't make cheese, but my favorite cheese to eat is aged white cheddar. And I also really like the stinky cheeses. I love
like the
blue cheese, Stilton, Roquefort. Yeah, all of those. My family can't stand, but I love them. And then I will say this with pure confidence that I make the best cheesecake in the world.
Well, then I think we need to get together because I love
Okay.
cheesecake. That's one of my favorite foods is cheesecake. So that sounds
Yes,
amazing.
love
Yum,
it.
yum. Okay, so what about, do you have a best trip or a dream vacation?
So, yeah, both. We love to travel as a family. We love road trips. When we started going, I thought traveling with 4 kids would be a nightmare, but road trips are actually really awesome. We love going to the national parks. We're checking them all off, and we only have my youngest is a 4th grader, and you can get the free
Oh,
park
yeah.
pass,
Oh, we
and
maxed out
so
on that 4th grader
I'm like,
thing.
this is our last year that we can do it, so for free anyway.
Yeah.
So
After
hopefully
that,
we'll hit a
no
lot.
more parks. We're doing something
Right.
else.
No. So we love national parks. We went to New York City a couple of years ago as a family, and that's where my husband served his mission. And
Oh,
I would highly, highly suggest going and taking your kids to your husband's mission or to your mission if it's possible. I know that, out of country, it's probably not as feasible as New York City, but talking to, his old ward members and people who he taught was amazing.
that is so
Um,
cool.
so yeah, that was probably one of my favorite trips. And my dream vacation, top of the bucket list, is Switzerland.
Oh, take me with you. I want to go there
Yeah.
too. Oh, so fun. One of my,
I want to run in the mountains there. That's my dream.
yes, one of our guests that we had on a couple months ago, she is living in Liechtenstein, which is right next to
Mhm.
Switzerland right now. And oh, all of her stories are so dreamy. I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh, what would it be like to just drive around and
Oh,
have those
I know.
mountains be, just so gorgeous. Oh, yeah, take me with you. I'd love to go on that one.
Someday.
So, last one. Do you have a homemaking hack for us?
No. You sent me this question for me to ponder, and I literally have been thinking about it, and I'm like, gosh, I'm the worst homemaker. I must be, because I don't prioritize cleaning my house. I really don't.
That is a hack
And
right there. You don't have to
is that a hack?
about
Okay,
it. Just
there's my
let
hack.
it go.
I feel like I am really good at prioritizing being with my children,
Mhm.
and that's so important to me. I'm not saying cleaning, if you have a clean house, that you're not prioritizing your children, but that just, I kind of let that go to the side. But so I really don't have a homemaking, unless you count having the spirit of your home good. That's my
I
priority, and
totally
that's what I
count
always
that.
try to do.
I think that's
Yeah.
amazing. I think that's the most important homemaking hack. I love that. I think it's so good to
Thank you.
just put it in perspective sometimes that we can just push all this aside and just,
Yeah.
let's just play with our kids for a little while. Don't worry about the dishes in the sink, and don't worry about, it will happen. We will get there.
Yeah. So true. And as your kids get older, you really figure out every day that time goes faster and faster every year. My oldest is in high school now. I've only got a couple years left with him, and I just want to enjoy every second.
Yeah.
And I don't enjoy cleaning or laundry, so I'm not going to do it.
I don't like it either. I just make my kids do it now, so it's great.
Yeah, that's true. My 2 oldest do theirs, and they all clean their own bathrooms and stuff. So it is good. So there's my hack is make your kids work.
Yeah, make your kids do it.
Good.
Then you don't have to. It's awesome.
So good for them, and then you don't have to.
Yeah, teach them how, and then just give it to them. It's great.
Exactly.
I only step in when it's really bad or when they're really not around and it's just got to be done.
Yep.
But other than that, let them do it. It's great for them.
Perfect.
It's building character.
Exactly.
Well, Becky, this has been so much fun for me. I've loved getting to know you, and I'm so excited to finish up this email series that you have out and have power in my life and find out all these other new hobbies that I want to do and pray for better gifts. Well, not better gifts to develop my gifts, or maybe some gifts I don't have already. So I'm so grateful
Yes,
for you
love
and
it.
all that you've done
Oh,
and
thank
spending some
you.
time. So
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was so fun chatting with you.
thank you so much for being with us today. If you enjoyed this episode, I hope you'll share it with a friend. All you have to do is just click there's a little icon there in your podcast app if you're listening, and they have a little thing where you can share it. Or you can take a screenshot of this if you're listening to it on your phone and post it on social media, and make sure you tag us so we can see that you're sharing it, because it makes me feel so good when I know that you are really enjoying this content. So hope you're having a really great day, and I hope that you'll be having a chance to listen to General Conference this weekend. It's my favorite. If you've listened to our podcast in the past 6 months, this is an occurrence every 6 months where we have this amazing opportunity to listen to the prophets and leaders of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and it's so faith promoting, especially in a time when there is just so much to beat you down with the pandemic and with all the fights over racism and the presidential election. This is a weekend of peace and of calm and inspiration, and it would be a great time to ponder your spiritual gifts and your hobbies. I hope you have a great week.